It's 3 minutes after the hour, so I think we can get going and um, yeah, not to waste time. So, hello everyone, and welcome to today's community call for NeoNephos Foundation. My name is Orlin, and I'm leading that effort here. And with that, we have 20 people on the call. Fantastic. Today is July 8th, and that's official community meeting. And as such, let me see how I can change my slide. We all represent different companies who are competitive on the market. So we follow the antitrust policy from the Linux Foundation. With that said, if someone is interested in this one, please navigate to the Linux Foundation antitrust policy site to read more about that. But pretty much, please do not compete on business side on this call. By the way, that call is recorded, so feel free to leave if you don't like being recorded and watch the recordings afterwards. With that, the agenda for today is kind of lean a little bit. Few updates from the foundation side, and then we have Uwe, who's gonna do a Project Greenhouse demonstration. I scared him off today by asking, "Are you ready?" And he said, like, "I'm scared already, but I hope you're ready." So I'll give you the chance to talk, and then some Q&A. If some people wants to add something, we're open for any proposals or any questions that we can get. So with that, we have a new general member. We welcome Transform on the board, and I think we have Puja with us today. Puja, do
Yes.
you want to share some
Hey.
stuff? Yes. By the way, first of all, thank you for joining. It's super late notice. I was like, "Woo, can
No,
someone
good.
join?"
I also didn't know that everyone is basically on the road today, it seems.
Yeah,
Like who was supposed to join. But it's great see some familiar faces and at least familiar companies here. Great to be in good company.
mm,
And yeah, I think we were thinking for a long time to be joining, and recent work together with some of you here and with some of the end users in the space that are interested in NeoNephos made us actually finally do the step. Um, yeah, Dominic is also there. Yeah,
yeah.
on the road.
Welcome, Dominic. Yeah,
Yeah. I think in the future, Dominic will join more, and then also two of our founders, Ollie, mainly joining this meeting, and Timo will be mainly joining tech related stuff, the CTO of Giant Swarm. They're
nice.
both on some kind of AI event today, so yeah. But in France, not an at least
Yeah,
an EU one. Let's go.
yeah. Can you Puja, can you like super brief share what
Yes,
Transform does and
happy to.
just people to know what
Yeah.
you guys do. Yeah.
Giant Swarm is now almost 12 years old. We started very early in the very early Docker beta days, and then got into the Kubernetes CNCF space, basically building an open source and also maintaining and running, operating that an open source cloud native platform for big enterprises. So always like a very big focus on security and open source as a non-lock-in also, because that was something that we believe in, and sovereignty and things that NeoNephos is thinking is focusing on are very at the heart of what we're thinking, because we are German ourselves, and most of our customers are also European based, even if they're global. So we all know what is happening politically recently, right? Um, and I think it's a great idea to be part of this. The product of Giant Swarm is on the one side similar to what SAP has with Gardener, for example, or Cubermatic with what's the name of the product? I forgot the name of their product. We're all good friends, I think. We've all worked together in the past and on things upstream in the CNCF. And happy
Mhm.
to be working on more things here in this foundation.
Yeah. Just one correction from my side. Gartner is not anymore SAP. It's a NeoNephos project. So
Exactly, right.
see that. So welcome. once more on board. By the way, for the folks who don't know the guys from Giant Swarm, I have the chance and the opportunity to know them for a couple of years, maybe 7, 8, from the CNCF community. It's always fun to hang around with Puya, food geek over there. So we shared some good meals in the past. Once again, welcome. I hope I can see you more and more often in our
Yeah,
calls.
I'll try to join too every now
Yeah.
and then, if my calendar allows.
Yeah. All right. Okay, let's move on. Last time we said that we have our first NeoNephos ambassador, Constance, and today we have our second uh, NeoNephos ambassador, Abu, and we have Abu with us today. And first of all, congratulations, Abu. And second, can you take the mic and just say a few words about you, what you do, what you plan to do, and yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm Abu, and I'm excited to be an ambassador of NeoNephos. I spent the last yeah, in the last 10 years, I spent 8 of it at GitLab, first as a support engineer, then a developer advocate before joining Cubomatic as a senior developer advocate. And aside from that, I was also the community lead for the Inclusive Naming Initiative under the CNCF, and I was also previously a CNCF ambassador. So one of the things I'm excited about joining the NeoNephos is I able to bring some of my experience around community building, around advocacy, online advocacy, around social media, content, strategy, and so on. And also around strategy around community management, basically. Those are some of the things I bring to NeoNephos I'm excited about. Thank you.
Thank you, Abu. I think with your expertise and previous stuff, I've seen you a couple of times around. I think you do a great job. So welcome once again.
Thank you very much.
Alrighty. So let's move on. Next one. Just a few remarks from my side on the project lifecycle document. That's still live and still in GitHub under the guidelines development repository for request number 13. If you're interested to contribute to how we create our lifecycle on the project, like different levels, what are the criteria and all that. And if you come from other foundations like CNCF, like pretty much most of us, we were exposed for CNCF a couple of years now. So feel free to put your input there to make it more complete and more workable for everybody. And yeah, just let's make it all together as a team and to have it properly formulated. Florian is occupied today, so that's why I'm taking on. Normally he's talking about this stuff, but he's not with us today, so that's the reason why I'm talking about it. A few events. I'm not sure what else was approved in the latest things, but we're gonna be. I'm gonna be personally at KubeCon Japan. So if someone is going to be in Japan and wants to talk with me, I'm more than happy to meet you. And we're discussing to have a booth at the Open Source Summit, which is like the flagship of open source events in Europe, in Prague. So if someone is interested in this one, can reach out to me or to the outreach committee, like Annika, Tristan, and everybody else. You can see that on the website who are the folks there. If you want to help with something, I think they'll be more than happy to take your input and your readiness to help with our presentations there. Next one, something that it was in the working for the last few weeks, and it's a joint effort from different folks. It's a project community managers monthly sync. I know it's a mouthful, but I'm not sure how we can make it shorter. But the thing is, we have now 13 projects in the foundation, and there are going to be more and more. And there are different efforts all around how community should be done for each project. So my idea was to like, okay, if there are people in the foundation level and in community who wants to and who share the same enthusiasm as me around community, how to grow community, let's sit together and discuss what we can do. For those of you who don't know me, I've been in the cloud native community for over 10 years now, and I'm contributing to Harbor, K3S, Valero, and some other projects. So I've been doing that for a while. So I just want to share even my experience with folks who are not in the community work, and to mentor them and to be like a guide in that opportunity. So if you feel like speaking with people and organizing people to do their job, maybe that's a road that you may think of it. So our first meeting is tomorrow. It's publicly available on the calendar. There's no closed doors there. We just want to get together, discuss what's community, what we want to do with community, how we want to drive community, grow community, what we expect from these roles. There are a few people already assigned, or they said, I want to do the community management work around the projects, but I think other projects are lacking these people. So if you feel like it, join us. Let's discuss and see how we're going. So yeah, pretty much we're looking for people to join the community and to try to drive the growth of the different projects communities within NeoNephos Foundation. So that's for tomorrow. If you have some questions about that, feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to brief you with whatever you need. It's an informal meeting. It's more about chat, idea sharing, and all around this one. There's no strict agenda like, oh, we're going to do this and that. That's about to come, but the first few is just to lay down what we want to do. And yeah, that's more on the ask from my side and from the team side. If we don't communicate something on time, or even our communication is bad, do you get LinkedIn posts, for example? Do we need to improve anything? Please reach out to us, provide feedback, so we can make it better and people getting more informed. And the Q&A, I'll leave it in the end. And now, Uwe, I'm going to stop talking finally, and it's your turn.
Thanks, Olin.
Is there anyone who is joining for first time our call, except the Giant Swarm folks, or like very last minute?
Hey, Alex. Alex speaking.
Hey, Alex.
For a first time here.
Yeah. Where you joining from? And I know you, but the people don't know you.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
I'm basically within DXC technology, and I'm joining more like individual to really understand where you are right now with the whole ecosystem development, what's the new things, and just to understand a bit more the whole trend, because the EU sovereignty, it's so hot topic that I really would like to understand a bit more.
Nice, thank you. Yeah, and joke aside, we've been in the same team with Alex for over 10 years back in our HP days. So, alrighty. Did you folks see the announcements? We're gonna do a session tomorrow with the SAP Open Source Program Office. It's gonna be a session around digital sovereignty and NeoNephos. If you have missed that, if you're new into this stuff like you, Alex, I think it's going to be super useful, because we're going to have not someone random like me, but we're going to have Vasu in the session tomorrow, and Vasu is going to share some super good stuff around the history and why we needed all that, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to share the link to the session into the chat, and now I think Uwe is sharing now, so I'm gonna shut up. Uwe, the stage
I'm
is yours.
sharing.
Yes,
Good.
you are.
Okay, first hurdle taken. Hi, welcome. I'm Uwe. So I'm part of the Greenhouse team. We've been developing Greenhouse for better part of 2 years, 2.5 years, more or less, in the Apiro work stream. It's part of NeoNephos, and I want to give a brief introduction to what Greenhouse is capable of doing, what we aim to solve, and how we try to solve this, right? So hi, I'm Uwe. I'm part of the Greenhouse team. Greenhouse is part of the Apiro workstream of the IPSAI-SIS project founded by the EU, and it's been donated to the NeoNephos Foundation. And we've been developing Greenhouse for around about 2 years, more or less, I would say. Greenhouse is aimed to provide tooling to operate large fleet of cloud infrastructure, namely focused on Kubernetes, right? There's a couple of problems that we're trying to solve. We're trying to narrow these down and not try to solve every problem at once. And basically, we're building an operations platform for the Kubernetes layer of the infrastructure. Why are we doing Greenhouse? So if you look at the CNCF landscape. This is a screenshot that we took a year ago, more or less. And there's a myriad of tooling, right? There's a lot of tools. You need to be a domain expert for the problem that each tool is trying to solve, to understand how to configure it for your specific set of infrastructure. You need to understand how to integrate the tools, right? Tools expose data, expose endpoints, other tools need to pick up. You need to integrate tools with each other. And basically, you need a lot of knowledge that we would want to try to condense into a set of opinionated and sane defaults that we provide with Greenhouse. And we want to automate a certain set of operational processes, right? So we identified like 3 key actors, let's say, in this operational processes, and these are the operators, the teams. There's the piece of infrastructure, and then there is a tool, and there's like relationships between these entities. Like the teams they need access and they need permissions of the infrastructure. The tools need owners that actually run the tools, and the tools route certain information to the teams, and the tools need to be deployed onto the infrastructure and will monitor the infrastructure. And then we scale the whole thing, right? We have more teams, we have more infrastructure, need more tools. We need to understand the chaos, and we want to do this in an automated way, right? And this is where we try to come in. Greenhouse as the operations platform, I was not quite sure about the audience, and this is why I removed the technical architecture overview that I had in this presentation. So quickly, on a verbal note, Greenhouse is a Kubernetes operator. We extend the Kubernetes API. We run a controller in a Kubernetes cluster and basically consume Kubernetes custom resources, right? There's a way, and I think most of you might know this, that you can extend the Kubernetes API with your own resources, and then you can do reconciliation on these resources. They describe a desired state and of a certain resource, and then the reconciliation of the controller tries to create the state and reports status back. So that's basically the technical part of Greenhouse, how it works on a verbal note now. We have an extendable plugin API. This means like the tooling that operates on top of Greenhouse is provided as plugins. And I think there's a big set of tools that's already been developed for Greenhouse. They deserve their own presentation here. I'm focusing on the core platform, right? On the core platform capabilities. So there's a big observability stack that is being developed with Greenhouse. There's a security and compliance management stack that's been developed with Greenhouse, and all of these deserve their own presentations. And I can't dive into the details of all of these. I will provide the core platform overview. The plugin API has 4 main resources. The first one being the plugin definitions. Basically, this is the bundling of a tool, right? This is the packaging that Greenhouse uses to provide the tool. We bundle a front end and a back end, where the front end is a React application, and the back end is a Helm chart. We are looking into using OCM in the future, but for now, these are the bundles that we use. We package them together, and then we provide them for the Greenhouse integration. I talked about the opinionated and sane defaults, right? We have a pre-configuration on a plugin definition level. We have plugin presets. Plugin presets are configuration for a set of clusters. So we identify a set of clusters that have a common usage or need a common configuration. And then we pre-configure our tool for this set of cluster. And then this plugin preset can use cluster metadata. Namely, you could provide the region of a Kubernetes cluster within metadata labels on the cluster. And then the preset understands the metadata and will provide the final configuration for a deployment, a plugin, a technical entity, by consuming the pre-configuration for a set of clusters with the metadata into a final cluster-specific configuration. And then we have the catalogs. Basically, this is the entity used for lifecycle management of plugin definitions, right? These, you provide plugin definitions, or the domain experts provide their plugin definitions in a Git repository, and the catalogs basically use our GitOps operator to track the latest main branch of a plugin definition, or a certain tag or a commit char, and then you can use Renovate on top of these catalogs to automate your lifecycle management and so on. Yeah, as said and repeated, we want to provide an opinionated cloud-native toolset with same defaults. The Greenhouse core team provides extensions that we deem necessary to operate large-scale infrastructure. Then we have other work streams or projects also in Apiro that provide Greenhouse extensions. I put here the Cobalt Core extensions. They are used for KVM compute or for Ceph storage. And then in here comes your extension, right? If you want to use Greenhouse and you want to provide your own tooling into Greenhouse, you maintain your extensions on a public GitHub instance, on an internal GitHub instance, and use the catalog to bring them to your Greenhouse installation and make them available for deployment. With all this, we want to provide a full cluster automation, and for this we have a strong integration with Gardener. Gardener has been mentioned before, right? Gardener is Kubernetes as a service and understands different providers. And we understand, or Greenhouse understands, the shoot resource and basically can onboard a shoot if it matches certain criteria on a Gardener API. So a label selector for a shoot that needs to be true, and then we use CEL, common expression language, to understand the healthiness or the readiness state of a shoot. So if payload is schedulable, we can onboard to Greenhouse. Our plugin presets kick in, deploy the set of tools. I have a little bit of a fancy animation. It's not so fancy, but at least it's an animation. You have Gardener on the left side and you have Greenhouse on the right side. And then we provide plugin presets for a certain kind of a set of clusters, right? For this is runtime. And then we have a certificate manager. It provides certificate set manager. Everybody knows it, I think. Secrets injector, which is our in-house solution for providing secrets on the Kubernetes layer. Then we have kube monitoring, and we have Persis. Persis is an open source tool for metric visualization, right? Basically, the next Grafana, if I'm allowed to say that. So we have dependencies here, right? The secrets injector needs certificates to run, to be successfully deployed. And the kube monitoring needs secrets to be deployed to provision PVCs and whatnot. And then we have Persis that auto-discovers every Prometheus instance that is deployed with a kube monitoring, right? So we have this kind of integrations. We have dependencies, runtime dependencies or deployment dependencies. Stuff needs to be deployed before other stuff can be deployed. And we expose configuration of tooling for other configuration to be consumed, right? So we don't have to manually enter a new endpoint of a Prometheus as a data source into a Persis deployment. But the Persis deployment knows how to auto-discover all deployed Prometheus for a set of clusters. Let's say we have a shoot in EUD1 in one region. This creates then a representation on the Greenhouse side, and then we pick up all our presets and we make deployments, and we have tooling on the cluster itself in the end. And when the next shoot of the type shows up on the Garden API, this happens automatically. We don't need to do anything anymore. We do organization management via Teams, right? Greenhouse has an OIDC integration with an upstream tenant, with an upstream IDP. And basically, we can map OIDC groups of your tokens. So we do an OIDC workflow with your tenant. You come back with your token. We understand the groups. And this means we can map you to a Greenhouse team. And then we can do permission management based on the Greenhouse team. We do Kubernetes RBAC natively with the Greenhouse controller. So you are part of team containers. And then you become namespace admin of the container namespace on all control plane clusters. Might be a configuration you can pre-configure, and whenever a control plane cluster comes up, team containers gets these permissions on the cluster. We do GitHub permissions with an extension, so a plugin definition that is developed by the core team, which is RepoGuard. So basically, this means you have your part in your tenant. You have an OIDC group aka you are part of a greenhouse team. This creates a GitHub team on the GitHub side, and then you can use this GitHub team for code ownership and permissions on repositories. And we are developing a solution for permissions as code in a more generic way, means we want to allow every application to specify a permission as code that then can be translated by custom controllers for application-specific implementation of that permission, right? This is not yet published. The repository is still private, but it is to come. We do resource ownership based on team membership. This means Greenhouse understands for each resource which team owns it, right? I showed the operational processes in the beginning. For this, we need to understand, or we need to know who owns a cluster, who owns a deployment, and if the deployment fails, who is to be routed for the failing deployment, or if on a cluster we have an alert, we understand who the alert is supposed to be routed to, right? Because we understand ownership. And then we have routing based on the ownership. This is strongly used by our observability stack and also by the security patch management stack. So if you have deployments that are deployed to a cluster you own, and these deployments are scanned for vulnerabilities, and we find a CVE, the owning team is notified to fix the CVE. And we do have a cluster registry for quick access. Means you register a cluster to Greenhouse, we create a kube config for you, and you can access this cluster without having to, for wherever the provider is, or from Gartner, download a kube config and have single kube configs for all the clusters, but we generate one big kube config for you and allow authentication. And we have a holistic operations dashboard. The whole thing is the whole thing comes with an UI where you can watch how your infrastructure looks like, how the health state is. It's also filtered by your support group, by your team. So you have a first filter on, you only see the resources that you are responsible for. You only see the alerts that you are responsible for. But then, of course, you can expand into more than just more than just what you are responsible for. Yeah, let's have a quick look at how this looks on our playground, right? This is Greenhouse, a very basic installation of Greenhouse where only the organization is activated, which comes with the Greenhouse core deployment. If we would have plugins deployed that bring a UI, they would come and show up here in the sidebar. For now, I will only show you the core platform. This is why we are looking at this. We see we have no clusters onboarded, and we have a set of plugin presets pre-configured. They are not healthy because no cluster matches this cluster selector, right? And then we have no clusters, right? There's nothing onboarded yet. We have a set of plugin presets. All of these plugin presets show not ready because no cluster matches cluster selector. We have a set of conditions. Mainly, we understand this thing is not ready because we don't have a cluster that matches. Now I want to show you Gardener. This is a Garden API, and I have a cluster that is prepared, and I will add a cluster type Apiro demo and save the whole thing. And also what I will do, I will create a new cluster. So this cluster does not yet exist, right? I'm creating a cluster on Gardener side, and this takes a little bit. Aha, I have the first cluster in Greenhouse because the cluster selector matches, right? Cluster type Apiro is what we have in the background with the tooling that integrates Gardener with Greenhouse, which currently has no UI yet. We are working on the UI, but the cluster shows up, right? We deploy structured auth, so OIDC trust delegation for this cluster. We are allowed to interact with the Garden API. We spec an issuer. We put Greenhouse as a trusted issuer into the issuer specification of a structured authentication of the target cluster. I'm not sure. This is maybe very much technical details. I'm not sure how much of a tech audience I have in front of me. But this means this cluster trusts Greenhouse and is allowed to onboard, right? Greenhouse is allowed to interact and has connectivity and permissions of the cluster. And let's look at our plugin presets. One by one, they are becoming healthy already, right? So this means in the beginning, we are deploying plugin preset. Let's say we are looking at the ingress, and we now see that on the Apiro 1 cluster, the ingress is deployed, right? And then we have a little bit of dependencies, and I think we are waiting for the dependencies, which I was talking about earlier. Secrets injector needs certificate manager, and after secrets injector is deployed, we can do everything that needs Kubernetes secrets. So these all come up and running, right? So we have working Helm deployments on a cluster that we just onboarded. And now the tool I was talking about before is like I was talking about clusters being added to a registry, right? Via Greenhouse. So if I run cloud CTL, which is a binary that you can have with Greenhouse, and then do a sync, then I get synced. So it basically syncs the clusters that are available on my Greenhouse cluster, right? I'm pointing it to a Greenhouse cluster, Greenhouse Playground, and a namespace Apiro Demo, which is my organization that I'm showing right now. And if I do kubectl context, and then I see, my Apiro 1 cluster shows up, right? Get nodes. I actually get the nodes. Why do I get the nodes? I have access and I have permissions. So I have pre-configured Kubernetes ABAC to be rolled out to Apiro demo clusters to give me who I am. And I can't switch screen. You see, you're still seeing my terminal, right? I can't do like screen switching back and forth. But now you can see my browser again, hopefully, right? You see the clusters? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
What do I want? What was I talking about before? So access and cluster and selectors. I had, lost a little bit. I think I wanted to talk about selectors, right? These are all matching on the Apiro demo cluster type. Same is true for the Kubernetes ABAC that we roll out, right? So I have yes, now I know. Sorry. This is pre-filtered for a support group, right? And there's a support group Apiro, which I am part of because I have a certain OIDC profile on this tenant. And since I'm part of support group Apiro, for the support group Apiro, for my OIDC group, Kubernetes ABAC, cluster admin ABAC is rolled out to the target cluster. This is why I could do a kget nodes on the newly onboarded cluster, right? This cluster was onboarded, I was able to do a kget nodes because I am part of the Apiro support group. And by now, I hopefully think that my cluster in the background is ready. And this I will look at a different screen. I can't show you all clusters we have in this project. Apiro. Okay, it's almost ready. Okay, then let's give me an outlook while we wait for this cluster of the Garden API to be ready, right? Outlook is a little bit, we are looking, of course, like everybody is doing, we are looking into AI workloads. We are looking into agentic operations with Greenhouse, where we want to provide a little bit platform capabilities to register MCPs and agents as workloads and do auth-C and auth-N for AI workloads, right? Because we all need guardrails. Everybody is developing MCPs and agents, and we need a little bit of guardrails on how these agents do identity, right? So how we hand out permissions and how do we do the tokens, how they act on behalf of a user. We think these should be platform features that we want to provide. And we are looking to providing a lot of UIs. Like in the background, we were talking about this integration with Gardener, where we want to provide UIs. We want to rethink secret management, right? Currently, we're integrating with Vault, but we want to integrate with OpenBow and maybe open source our secrets injector that you have seen before, which is an inner source tooling. We want to provide this as a Greenhouse plugin definition. And if you want to look at roadmap items, I invite you to go to our roadmap, which is also public and in project core roadmap, and then we can see the epics that we have planned a little bit for what's coming next. Right? We are talking about this permission manager I was talking about earlier, and everything that comes here. And hopefully I can stop talking now because this cluster shows up. And if not, yeah, okay. Gardener takes longer than I expected. I think I can open up for questions, and we have this in the background, and then we see once the gardener shoot is ready, we should see it on the greenhouse side as well. So I guess that's it. And I leave this running a little bit in the background if you all agree, and I'm open for questions.
Hey, Uwe, this is Vasu. I don't have
Hey,
a question, of course, because I'm quite familiar with the background of this project, but I might have a comment or a note. I think one of the ideas behind open sourcing these projects and donating it into NeoNephos is the recognition that more or less, if you look at every company that somehow needs to procure or needs to manage, operationalize infrastructure, be it with OpenStack or be it with more and more with Kubernetes, actually needs to do these types of operational things. And this means if you buy a product, then sometimes these operational concepts come with the product itself. But if you want to separate it out, if you want to have it more generic, the idea of Greenhouse is it's a starting crystal, more or less, to say, hey, if other companies have a similar need, maybe we can actually share the development of how SAP internally uses it, right? There are, of course, some things that are not open source, yes, but in general, this is a project where we deem we might get adoption and co-contribution, co-developer, co-maintenance, and so on, in light of European sovereignty, digital sovereignty. It just doesn't make sense if every company reinvents the same thing and there's almost nothing to share. That is basically, I think, I hope, Uwe, I think that was my comment. I hope this is not.
No, we totally agree on that, right? So, I mean, we are providing some, I would say, some quite basic functionalities, right? And then on top of that, you can provide your tool stack, which might also be, well, not vendor specific, but let's say technology specific. Hello. But yeah, so you can provide your tooling that is not, for example, for the Kubernetes layer, right? You might be integrating into Netbox or whatever, right? We do have a lot of KVM operations here. We have Ceph operations that run on top of Greenhouse. They basically, what happens here is like we can auto-discover the data. We can aggregate the data with Greenhouse, right? I was only showing the operational platform, the core layer, but on top of that, since Greenhouse has connectivity to all the clusters, since Greenhouse understands the configuration of the tooling deployed, we can aggregate stuff, right? We understand the endpoints that are exposed, and we can tell another tool to automatically consume these endpoints and stuff like this. This is where the power comes in place, right? I'm just showing the bottom layer of what we do, right? So a little bit of the build-up process where we are part of a little bit of the day 0 and then day 2 in the Kubernetes layer. And then on top of that, every tooling can integrate into the landscape. Right. Hopefully this aligns with what you're saying, right?
Yes. So and to Giant Swarm and Puja especially, this is not a hard connect to Gardener. We can also do that with Cluster API. Very open.
Oh, of course. Yeah. So there's a very generic way of onboarding a cluster via a kubeconfig, right? And we don't even need to do the OIDC trust thing, right? We don't even need to spec Greenhouse as an issue on your target cluster. You can just provide a kubeconfig with a short living token, and then Greenhouse takes over by deploying a service account and permissions on the target cluster. So we don't have a dependency on Gardener. It's just the full automation is strongest with Gardener. But we can do this with Cluster API and whatnot, right? So very welcome. and open for contributions. So my garden cluster in the background is still reconciling.
Okay, sorry for interrupting in between. I wanted to speak up even earlier on the question who is here for the first time. So that would be me, but my microphone was not working. And yeah, my name is Jochen Damzok. I'm from Robert Bosch GmbH, first time, as I said. I ran across NeoNephos just recently, and I found it very, very cool. And I absolutely wanted to learn more about it. The first component I was looking in was actually platform mesh, which needs, a large set of requirements that we have in order to provide some kind of an in-house cloud offering. Now, when I see what you are doing here, I immediately ask myself, will you be integrating in something like this platform mesh? Because it solves some of the problems that you have also in a slightly different angle and a slightly different way, but still it should somehow cooperate or coexist, I feel. Because
Yes.
that would be something like a marketplace where you would go to first and order. Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah. So we are already talking with platform mesh on how to integrate Greenhouse, right? How to make Greenhouse an offering in platform mesh. So yes, the idea is there, and we want to move there. But this is all I can say for now, right? We are a little bit short-handed on engineering power at the moment, and we can't do everything that we want and need to do. So it has to be step by step. But yes, there is already communication ongoing for this.
I think, Jochen, if you look at all of these projects started like 2 years back, and if you want to introduce a dependency into a framework dependency, then that framework dependency has to be production ready so that all the projects can actually build upon it. But if they are also being developed, right, you kind of have to be very pragmatic and let the teams solve the business problem first. So for Greenhouse is operations in the data center, and then retroactively start to kind of combine things where things need to fit together. That's a standard development project, and we didn't want to instruct a waterfall hierarchy. That doesn't make sense in open source.
Absolutely, and this was not a critic. I'm trying to understand myself to place all the bits and pieces, and I see that everything is moving pretty fast, and I see that the whole complexity is immense, and I even feel that this very particular offering might be quite difficult to fit into such a marketplace because it probably needs a lot of customization and a lot of tweaking. So I was just wondering if you have started thinking about how you can have a very abstract way of managing this from a simple marketplace, let's say. But I totally understood that everything is in build up, and I'm happy to hear that
Uwe itself mentioned OCM. Yeah. That's another thing that came actually later, right?
Yes.
But needs to be retrofitted. Lots of work still ahead of us.
Yeah. Yes. So when thinking OCM, I think all the marketplace, the platform mesh bundles are provided via OCM, right? And then we need to provide Greenhouse as an OCM bundle, but we also want to make OCM bundles deployable via Greenhouse. We are thinking about plugin definition bundles, right? Think of an exposure bundle. Let's say we put SAT manager, some issuer, and an ingress solution into one bundle, and then we want to deploy this as OCM, right? That would Greenhouse would be an OCM deployer, but will also be offered as OCM to integrate. But yeah, okay, there's. Of these ideas, a lot exist, and we are focusing on very concrete operational problems that we're trying to solve now, and until we do the big integration and draw the final picture, how all the pieces fall together.
Very good, very good.
The cluster has been onboarded. If you look at my screen, I think I'm still sharing. Apiro 2 is here. It came up on the Garden API. It was built. It was an actual build on the Garden side, right? And we get the presets up and running. I think this is a good final note for this presentation. I did not completely sit with the clock and time my presentation to the ending. I had to answer questions until this was happening. But yeah, you can see the final thing,
Yep.
the final stage.
You're great with the time, so I think we have a few more minutes for questions. If someone else has any.
Yes, I might have one question. Uwe, could you please show me how the initial IDP is set up? Like, is it a prerequisite that you have to first connect to your OIDC and then so that it can create your project?
Yes. So we expect an up and running IaaS tenant IDP tenant as of now, right? We need to integrate. So for Greenhouse has the so the tenant isolation is on a namespace level, and every namespace represents an organization. Every organization needs to integrate with an IDP, basically with an OIDC endpoint. So we need to have OIDC credentials for a Greenhouse client to set up a Greenhouse organization. This is a prerequisite. If you look, are these slides going to be shared? Because if not, I'm going back to my slides again, and then you can let me quickly. Too many screens. Share, because then I can share the links to this one, demo time, and then I should be. Yeah, so you have a couple of links here, right? This is the open source documentation, and this is the core repository. We all live in the cloud operator.
Again.
Okay. Well, at least I'm talking. That's the most important thing. Good. Now I'm sharing.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Links to Greenhouse core repository, the cloud operators organization, is where all the tooling lives in, right? The Gardener integration is called ShootGrafter. The thing that does GitHub permissions is called RepoGuard. We have an owner label injector, whatnot. The observability stack all lives in cloud operators. Greenhouse is the core platform, basically the functionality I showed you today. And the documentation is also published in GitHub pages. Yeah, and happy to interact.
Thank you.
Maybe one more question. I was just thinking, I'm not sure if you mentioned it. The plugins are to be like you can choose which clusters get which plugins, right? As you explained. Is there also some kind of versioning separation there? Like can I do like I don't know, beta staging prod channels where I like roll out versions only to?
This is also like for okay, the Outlook section I should have mentioned. We want to bring this in cluster. So basically plugin definition revisions, so you can do in cluster staging. But for now, this is out cluster because you basically create presets per stage, right? You say preset alpha, beta, gamma, and then you create plugin definitions, and then you have your own update, like your progression outside in your GitHub, right? And then you promote it in your GitHub, and then this gets brought to the cluster by the catalog, and then you have updates on your fleet, right? So this you could stage rollouts, and this is also how we are doing it, right? For a set of QA clusters, always latest main, but for the others, we do renovate, and then we do schedules, auto schedules with renovate, and then we have these are rolled through. But we want to bring this functionality into the cluster. So basically, by then you can define by semver versioning in a plugin preset, right? You do minor, major, patch, level, whatever is transported with your preset, and then this becomes much easier, right? Renovate is rate limited. Renovate, I mean, the GitHub API is under a lot of stress, and we all know. So it's good to have it in cluster, the revisions in cluster, but not yet there.
No. Yeah, because like we're having like I mean similar tooling, and there's like some issues where like channels are always the thing that people want, and like maintenance windows, right? Like it should be like rolled, but like they want to have certain windows defined, and I guess you've seen similar use cases.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Uwe. It was a great session today. We're almost on the hour, and just before we close, I just want to paste another link into the chat because I was asked in the background where we can see the occurrence of all these meetings and for different topics. And whatever. You can see the calendar for the foundation, and you can see all per project meetings, which are the technical discussions, and some others like this one, and also the project community monthly sync for tomorrow, if you're interested in that. So with that, I think we can close for today. Thank you very much once again, everyone who joined and who yes, so we can upload it and to be available for offline usage as well. With that, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening or rest of the day, and see you next time. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.